Old ranch cook caught a girl carving a fence post. The initials matched his wife's. His boot hit gravel hard, crunching loud enough to warn her, but she didn't flinch, just kept carving. The knife in her hand was thin and old, handle wrapped in string. Her grip wasn't careless. She moved like she'd done this before. "Hey," the cook barked. She kept going. "I said hey." She didn't stop until he grabbed her wrist. The knife dropped. She looked up. She couldn't be older than 15. Blood-colored shawl around her shoulders, dust on her cheeks. No shoes. "What the hell are you doing?" he said. "Carving," she said. "I can see that. Why?" "Didn't think the fence would tell." He looked down at the post. His gut dropped. J.D. His wife's initials. He let go of her wrist like it burned. "You know what that means?" "I do." "How?" She didn't answer. "You don't get to walk on someone's ranch and start cutting names into wood." "I didn't walk. I was already here." He stared. "You belong to the Morgans?" "No." "Smith girl?" "No." "Where's your folks?" "Gone." "Gone how?" "Like your wife." That shut him up. He turned toward the post again. The carving was crude but clear. J.D. not fresh either, just recut. The edges looked weathered. Someone had done it before her. "Who taught you that name?" She knelt and picked up the knife. "Don't." "I wasn't going to use it on you." "That ain't the problem." She walked past him like she lived there, toward the kitchen shed. "Wait, I'm hungry." "That ain't my—" "You're the cook, ain't you?" He followed, slow. The door creaked as she pushed it open. The smell of onions and lard clung to the walls. She sat at the bench like she'd sat there before. He didn't like it, any of it. You can't just walk in someone's kitchen. "Didn't your wife?" He froze. "What did you say?" She nodded toward the blackened spoon hanging behind the stove. "Used to stir with that." He crossed the room, pulled it down. Something scratched into the handle. Tiny letters, barely visible under grease and soot. J.D. He gripped it tight. "This ain't—" "It is." "You saying you knew her?" "I didn't. Mama did." He turned. "Your mama knew Julia. She said this place fed her before it buried her." He felt the blood drain from his face. "I don't know what game you think this is." "No game," she said. "Just the truth. Julia's been dead for nearly 20 years. Then why's she still on your fence?" He looked out of the window. The fence stretched long and wide, wrapped around the corral like a tired arm. "How'd you get here?" "I woke up." "That's not what I woke up where the dirt was warm. That's how I got here." "That makes no damn sense." She stood and moved toward the pantry. "You ain't touching a damn thing." "You already said I can't carve. I can't sit. I can't eat. What can I do?" "Leave." She tilted her head. "Why?" "'Cause I remember something you don't." "I remember everything." "No, you remember what they told you." The wind hit the side of the shed like a slap. He stepped closer, voice low now. "My wife died out back. Dogs got her. The sheriff said so." She looked at the floor. "Have you ever seen her body?" His throat tightened. "The sheriff said she was torn up badly." "That ain't what I asked." "No." "So maybe she's not the one that burned." He shook his head. "Burned. She said the stove caught her sleeve. Said she screamed and nobody came. Said the only person who tried was the cook." He backed up a step. "I never—" "You were outside, hauling water." The room was spinning now. "How would your mama know that?" She said it over and over when she stitched it at night. Her fingers remembered even when her mouth didn't. He looked down at his hands. Rough, calloused, too old to hold ghosts. The girl stepped closer. "You buried a woman without a face." "That's not true." "Then why don't you look at the fire pit anymore?" His voice cracked. "Get out." She turned. "Thought so." He followed her out, boots dragging. The sun had dipped low, casting everything in orange. "Where you going?" "Back to the fence." "For what?" "To finish what Mama started." She reached the same post and pressed the blade into the second letter again. "You know what happens if the sheriff sees that?" "I do." "You want trouble?" "I want the truth." The knife moved slowly, like it wasn't carving wood, but digging memory. "She said your stew tasted like smoke." He blinked. "She said you used to whistle while you stirred." His chest ached. "She said you always set out 2 bowls, even after she was gone." "Stop." "She said you were kind." "I ain't anymore." "She didn't say you had to be." He stepped forward. "What's your mama's name?" She didn't answer. I asked you a question. I know. She dropped the knife. It was stuck in the dirt. My name's Joe. He stared. Joe what? It doesn't matter. He walked to the post, ran his fingers over the letters. The wood felt older than it should. You sure you're not just looking for a story? I already found one. The wind moved her shawl like a flag. She didn't move, just stared at the horizon like something was still buried out there. Where's your mama now? She looked up at him. Same place as yours. He couldn't speak. She turned. I started walking. Wait. She didn't stop. He called again. Joe. Still. Walking. He looked down at the knife in the dirt. Its blade shimmered dull in the fading light. The initials on the post stared back. His hand gripped the handle. He didn't follow her. Didn't move. Just stood there. His hand is still gripping the girl's wrist in memory. Her silence was louder than the wind. He scraped soot off the handle with his thumb. The letters were faint, but there. J.D. same scratch. Same angle. Same hand. He stepped off the counter. Hold the spoon like it might answer something. She said you'd remember it, the girl said. I don't. She said you would. He stared at her. She hadn't sat. Just stood by the doorway, hands behind her back, shoulders straight. Your mama said she cooked here. She said she stirred stew with that spoon. He laughed once, dry. I've been cooking here for 40 years. Ain't never seen her. She was here. She says her name. She said names got taken, but she remembered the feel of the spoon. Said it burned her thumb once when the handle got hot. He looked down again. His thumb had that scar, too. From back when the stovepipe cracked. You say your mama knew my wife? She said she watched her knead bread. Said she sang when the window fogged. He turned toward the window. The glass still carried the faint smear from the old cloth Julia used. Your mama got a name or not? She called herself May. That wasn't what they wrote down, though. He blinked. What did they write? Jane Doe. He didn't speak. The girl moved toward the stove. Don't touch nothing. She stopped. I'm not here to break things. No, just stir up ghosts. She said ghosts don't need stirring, just listening. He tossed the spoon on the counter. It clattered once, echoed in the quiet. Are you hungry? She nodded. He poured some beans into a pan, light the flame slowly, kept his back to her. Have you ever eaten here before? Not me. But she did. Yeah. He stirred. She said your biscuits were dry. He cracked a smile. But the gravy was kind. He froze, spoon midair. That's what she said. Word for word. He kept stirring, slower now. Does she remember what happened here? She remembered the heat. Her hands moving. People are not looking at her. Just her work. He opened the oven, took out stale cornbread, set it on a chipped plate. Does she say why she left? She didn't leave. He turned. You saying she died here? I'm saying she disappeared here. That's different. Not to her. He slid the plate to her. She took a bite, chewed slowly. You don't remember her, she said. No. She remembers you. How? She said you brought her coffee once when she burned her hand. He sat down. Plenty of folks worked here. Farm hands, kitchen help. Most stayed 2 weeks and vanished. She stayed longer. He didn't argue. She wiped her mouth with her sleeve. Why's her name not in your book? What book? The big red one in the drawer. He stared. That's locked. No, it ain't. He stood, moved to the drawer, pull it open. Big red ledger still there, still dusty, still bound in cracked leather. He opened it. Page after page, neat rows, names, hours, tasks. He flipped to the year. She ain't here. Keep going. He turned more pages, slower now. Then he saw it. 2 pages stitched together, slight glue at the edges. He peeled them apart. Inside, a folded slip of paper. A name scribbled once, faint ink. Maylene. No last name. And beneath it, burned hand. Sent home. Never came back. He set the ledger down. That's your mama. The girl nodded. I didn't write that. But you kept it. He leaned on the counter. I remember her now. Skin like clay. Hair is always tied back. She hummed while she stirred. The girl's eyes were wet. She said you were kind. He swallowed. Not kind enough. She said you tried. He looked at the note again. I asked the sheriff to look into it. What did he say? She probably ran off, said folks do that. She didn't run. I see that now. The girl stood. I walked over, picked up the spoon again. She carved too. He turned sharply. Where? By the fence. Before Mama disappeared, she carved her name next to Julia's. She told you that? She said the wood remembers. He moved to the door. You comin'? She nodded. They stepped out together, walked through the back field. Fence posts lined the edge, leaning like tired men. She pointed. That one. He walked closer, brushed dirt off the post. 2 sets of letters, J.D. and M.W. faint. Weathered, but there. Why'd no one notice this? No one looks. He pressed his palm flat against the post. It felt cold. You believe in hauntins? She looked at him. I believe in memory. He nodded once. They stood there quietly. Then she spoke. She said you'd find her. He looked up. And now? She said the cook would remember. He swallowed hard. She was right. The wind picked up. He turned to her. You got a place to stay? No. Then come on. She followed him back toward the shed. The spoon is still in her hand. The wind didn't stop. He held the spoon again, rubbed the carved handle slowly, like it might change. The letters were deep, not scratched in passing. Someone took their time. J.D., same as on the quilt, same as on the fence. The girl sat on the floor now, back against the counter, knees to her chest. She hadn't asked for more food, just stared at the floorboards like something weighted under them. You see this? He said, holding the spoon up. She didn't look. Same damn letters, same damn way. Yeah. Where'd you find this? I didn't. So what then? She told me about it. Your mama? She nodded. How'd she know what was carved here? She burned her hand on it once. The metal. Said it stuck to her skin. He stared. You already told me that. Doesn't make it less true. He stepped toward her, spoon in hand. You know who J.D. is? She said she never spoke her name, but she sang it into bread dough. Said it like it mattered. He knelt. That's my wife's name. She looked at him then. I know. He sat on the edge of the counter. The kitchen felt smaller, older. She worked here too. She tried. Tried what? To last. He set the spoon down. What happened? They made her stir the stew even after she burned. Said no one got time for weak hands. Who's they? The man with the tin star. His mouth dried. Sheriff? She didn't blink. You're saying the sheriff hurt her? I'm saying he watched. He rubbed his face. What kind of stew? She frowned. What? You said she burned it once. What kind? Does it matter? It might. Beef and potato. He stared. She said he made her dump it out in the yard. Said she cried from the smell of it. Said it smelled like her mother's house. He didn't speak. She remembered that more than the pain. He looked over at the stove. The burner clicked, flame low. You believe all of it? I lived in the shadow of it. He stood. I walked across the room, picked up the red ledger again, turned to the same page. Maylene. Burned hand. Sent home. Never came back. You said you don't have a name. She shrugged. You said you weren't here before. I wasn't. But you walk this place like you know it. I do. He slammed the ledger shut. You keep talking like a ghost. Maybe I am. You're flesh and blood. So is she. He moved toward her again. Why'd you come now? She told me when. When what? When you'd remember. He pointed at the spoon. That's what did it. She nodded. Why'd she carve the letters? To leave something behind. I buried her. She didn't ask for that. He felt it again, that sick pull in his chest, like a memory twisted wrong. You saw her face? No. Then how do you know? She had a birthmark on her shoulder, like a curl of smoke. He blinked. Julia had that. She said your hand shook the first time you touched it. He sat down slowly. She said you stopped whistling after she vanished. I did. They sat in silence. Then, boots on wood. A voice outside. You got a girl in there or not? The cook stood. The girl stayed down, eyes wide. He moved to the door. It opened a crack. The sheriff stood on the porch. Hat low, dust on his sleeves. Evenin'? Evenin', cook replied. You got someone staying with you? Why? Had a report. Little thing. Shawl. Wandering near the dry creek. Haven't seen anyone. The sheriff squinted. Is that so? Sure is. The sheriff took one slow step up. Mind if I come in? The cook didn't answer. Behind him, the girl didn't move. Something wrong? The sheriff asked. Number just not a good time. Never is, the sheriff muttered. He pushed the door. The cook didn't stop him. The sheriff stepped inside, sniffed the air. Smells like beans. Dinner. Thought you hated cooking for one. Got used to it. The sheriff scanned the room. Eyes caught the girl in the corner. She stared straight back. Well, he said. Look at that. She's not in trouble. You sure? I fed her. That ain't the same. She's got no folks. Neither do most. The sheriff stepped closer. What's your name? She didn't speak. Cat got your tongue? She doesn't talk much, the cook said. Does she look familiar to you? Just a hungry girl. The sheriff studied the spoon on the counter, tapped it once. Is this old thing still around? Never left. The sheriff smiled without teeth. She did that carving I saw out back? Cook paused. What carving? You know damn well. She's just a kid. So was the last one. Cook's jaw tightened. The sheriff stepped back. Don't let her dig up trouble. He turned, paused at the door. You have questions, ask me. Don't let ghosts do the talking. He left. The door shut. The room held its breath. The girl looked up. You see it? What? His badge. He nodded. Same one he wore when she burned. He sat back down. She's not done. Who? My mama. She stood, picked up the spoon again. It remembers more than you. He didn't argue. Outside, the wind started again. Inside, the flame under the beans went out. The spoon stayed warm. The girl dropped behind the stove before the knock came again. The cook moved slowly to the back door, wiped his palms on his apron, opened it just enough to let one eye meet the badge. Evening, Sheriff. Again. You circling the kitchen now? Figured the back was more honest. Honest about what? The sheriff leaned against the frame, hat low, sun behind him. You got a girl in there? No. 15, maybe. Brown hair, red shawl. Don't ring a bell. The sheriff squinted past him. Mind if I step in? Kinda busy. Stew's not worth lying for. Wasn't lying. I just don't like company. The sheriff looked down. Toes scraped the threshold. Are you sure about that? I'm sure about most things. She was seen near the fields. They said she was headed this way. Ain't seen her. You feed her. No. Talk to her. No. The sheriff didn't blink. You still dream about the pantry. The cook went quiet. Wasn't nothing, he muttered. That's what you said then. The sheriff tapped his badge with 2 fingers. You remember what she sounded like? I remember the fire. You said you never went in. I didn't. You said you were hauling water. I was. The sheriff stared at him. Then how'd you hear her? He didn't answer. Behind him, the stove clicked. You got stew boiling. Letting it settle. The sheriff nodded once, slowly. You used to whistle. You don't anymore. People change. Some don't. He turned his boots, stepped back off the porch. If she shows, he said, you let me know. Cook nodded once. The sheriff tipped his hat. You got ghosts in your kitchen, better not feed 'em. The door shut. Silence. Then the girl stepped out. He's not after me, she said. He looked at her. He's after you. He didn't speak. He thinks you hurt her. I didn't. You just said you did. He stopped, sat down hard. She screamed, he said. She didn't answer. I wasn't supposed to hear it. Where were you? Outside, with the horses. I came back and smelled smoke. Stove door open, floor black. She stepped closer. And she wasn't there. Nobody? Nothing. You didn't tell the sheriff that? He told me what happened, said fire took her. Did you ask where the scream came from? He said don't stir things. She sat across from him. You believed him? I didn't want to doubt him. She stared. He made the rules, huh? He wore the badge. He wore it when Mama burned too. He rubbed his hands. There's things I didn't see. There's things you refused to do. He stood. I walked to the sink, turned the handle. Water sputtered, then flowed. She screamed once, he said. Then it was quiet. Like someone covered her mouth. He closed his eyes. You remember now. I don't want to, but you do. He gripped the counter. She was strong, he whispered. Didn't cry when she cut her hand on the tin. Didn't flinch when the flour burned her arm. But she screamed that night. Yes. And nobody came. He turned. I didn't come. Why'd your wife go quiet so suddenly? He didn't answer. She stood. Maybe it wasn't the fire. He stared at her. Maybe it was him, she said. The wind knocked against the back door. Neither of them moved. The stew behind them bubbled low, and the pantry door creaked open on its own. The wind hadn't stopped since the pantry door opened. Neither had the girl. Come with me, she said. The cook hesitated, hand still on the frame. Where? Well house. It's been locked for 20 years. It's not locked now. She grabbed the lantern off the nail. He followed, slower. Out past the corral, past the broken troughs and rusted fence. The well house sat near the tree line, small, learning, like it didn't want to remember anything. You've been here? He asked. She nodded. When? Last night. You got a key? No key. He frowned. It don't open without... She pushed the door. It creaked. Open clean. He didn't speak. Inside smelled like rain, soot, and something older. She stepped in first, lanterns held high. Dust danced in the light. I came looking for her, she said. Julia. She was here. He looked around. Same shelf, same cracked chair, same tin bucket by the stones. Nothing new. Then she crouched, pulled up the plank near the far wall. Wasn't nailed down. He stepped closer. Under the board, blackened cloth, charred at the edges, tucked into ash. She lifted it. The cook dropped to his knees. No, he whispered. The thread was singed but held, small patchwork squares, faded rose, tobacco brown, cream. The smell hit him next, dust and smoke and something sharp, like lye. She turned the corner over. There, near the bottom hem, initials stitched in rust thread. J.D. He touched the letters like they might flinch. She made this, he said. I know. She finished it. She hid it. He shook his head. Number it burned with her. Sheriff said. Sheriff lied. He looked around the walls. Same wooden beams, same water stains. How long's it been here? Long enough to forget. He held the quilt close. She stitched this when she couldn't sleep. Said it calmed her hands. She stitched when the stew boiled. Said fire was a better needle. He swallowed hard. You sure this is hers? She said the red thread came from her mother's hair ribbon. He pulled the fabric up to his face, closed his eyes. She sang when she sewed, he whispered. The girl didn't respond. She sang softly, real low, like she didn't want the house to hear. She was scared. He nodded. Always. The girl moved to the corner, lifted something else, small, metal, a broken buckle. Cook stared. That hers, too. She said it fell when he grabbed her. Who? The girl looked at him. You know who. He leaned back, quilt still in his arms. She gave this to me once, he said. Told me to keep it safe. I told her I'd hang it by the stove. You didn't. I forgot. No, you didn't. He looked up. What's that mean? You chose not to remember. He didn't speak. The air felt thicker in there. The light from the lantern flickered like it didn't want to stay. She said this place swallowed her, the girl said. He looked down at the quilt again. The corner had a patch stitched over another name. Same red thread. Someone else had this first. The girl nodded. She passed it on. How many worked here? He asked. She shrugged. How many vanished? She didn't answer. He stood. Hold the quilt out. Why'd she hide it? So someone would find it. He looked around the floor. Ash coated everything. He stepped back to the door. I looked at the sky. Still gray. Still waiting. She left a message, he said. She left proof. He turned to her. You're sure your mama saw her here? She was her. For a time, what's that mean? She wore her apron. I stood in her shoes, took her name when no one looked. Does that happen a lot? Enough. He walked out of the well house. She followed. I don't know what to do with this, he said. You keep it. Then what? You remember. That's not enough. She stopped. It is for the dead. He looked back at the door. She was good, he said. I know. She used to make peach bread with cinnamon. She said you were her favorite part. He blinked hard. I let her burn. No. The girl said. He did. They walked in silence back to the house. He held the quilt tight to his chest. She didn't say another word. Inside, the fire had gone out. He placed the quilt on the table like it was still warm. Then he unfolded the corner. Same initials, same hand, same thread. He stared at the badge sketch, hands trembling, drawn in pencil, smudged at the edge, burn mark across the middle, a cracked star, a number still visible under the soot. "Where'd this come from?" he asked. She didn't answer. "Where?" "My mama's apron," she said, "folded in the seam, tucked where heat couldn't touch." He set the paper down. I looked at the table, then the quilt, then her. "You sure?" She said she kept it when no one else would. "That's the sheriff's badge." Was. He picked up the paper again, studied the lines, bent metal, one corner blackened. She said it burned her hand when she pulled it off his belt. He closed his eyes. "You think she killed him?" "No, she just took it." She took what he used to silence her. He stood, paced the kitchen. The sheriff said dogs tore Julia up. "Did you see?" "No." "He showed you teeth marks?" "No." "Blood?" "No." "Then why'd you believe him?" He looked out the window. "Because I needed to." She walked over, laid the sketch beside the spoon. "You buried her too fast." "I didn't know what else to do." "You didn't wait for the truth." "I trusted him." "He didn't earn it." He turned. He held her earring in his hand, said it was found by the fence. "Anyone could have dropped that." He said the dogs dragged her. "Have you ever seen a dog drag a woman through a locked kitchen?" He stopped. "You ever wonder why the pantry door stuck that next morning?" He nodded slowly. "It smelled like bleach." "It always did." "Not like that." He sat down. The floor creaked under him. "She made stew that night," he said. "I remember because she whistled while she stirred." "Your wife?" He nodded. "She said the meat was tough, but she was proud of it." The girl sat across from him. She wasn't planning to die. He rubbed his face. "The sheriff said it was quick, that I didn't need to see." "Have you ever seen him lie to a man's face?" "Yes." "You think he wouldn't do it to you?" "No." "Then why didn't you stop him?" "Because I thought grief meant silence." She shook her head. "Grief doesn't cover tracks." He looked at the badge sketch again. She said he cornered her in the pantry. He stiffened. Said he pulled his belt off but didn't take it far. She fought. She bit him. He stared at the paper. "That's why it burned." He whispered. She was never weak. She was alone. He stood again, hands shaking, moved to the stove, turned off the burner. "She told you all this?" She whispered it when she stitched, said her thread was louder than her mouth. He stared at the ashes in the firebox. She never screamed when she was hurt, not once, but that night, she screamed. Yes, and the sheriff said it was dogs. He always had an answer. She stood, walked toward the door. "You buried her in spring." "Late March." "Fast." "I couldn't see her." "He told you not to." He nodded. "He buried her. Not you." He turned slowly. "I wasn't even there when they laid the box." "Didn't let you?" "Said the dogs ruined too much." He lied. He sank back into the chair. "She used to say nothing on this land could keep her quiet," he whispered. She was right. He looked up. "This badge, what do we do with it?" "It's not just a badge." "Then what?" "A promise he made, one she broke when she took it." He reached for the drawing again. "She didn't die that night," he said. "Not right away." "No." She waited. "She fought." He nodded once. "And You looked away." He pressed the paper flat with both palms. "I want to dig." She tilted her head. "Where?" "Where he said he buried her." She stepped outside. "I'll bring the shovel." He followed her out. The sky is overcast. The wind is still high. The dirt behind the fence hadn't shifted in years. He stared at the dry patch. "She's not under there." He turned. She said she would never let him finish the hole. "Then where is she?" The girl pointed past the barn. "She said the quilt would show you." He turned. She was already walking. The wind carried ash across the porch. The paper badge still sat on the table, burned, folded, waiting. The smell hit first. Smoke, not stew. The cook pushed open the back door, eyes already toward the trees. Thin fire curled behind the well house, low, controlled, intentional. He grabbed the pail off the porch and started running. She was already there. So was someone else. A figure standing still, hands in his coat pockets. Deputy, just watching the flames lick dry grass. "What the hell you doing?" the cook shouted. The deputy didn't move. "Fire got ahead of me." "Don't lie." "Didn't know I was near sacred ground." The girl stepped between them. "You knew." The deputy tilted his head. "Don't get brave, little thing." "I'm not little," he smiled. "You're stirring ghosts." They were never asleep. Cook dumped the first bucket on the flames. Steam hissed. "You come out here often?" he asked. "Sometimes." "Why?" "Because she won't stop." The girl stepped forward. "Then why is she carving fence posts again?" The deputy's face changed. "Who told you that?" "She did." "There's nothing out here but old dirt and bad memories." "She's in both." The deputy looked at the cook. "You letting her dig around now?" "She's not digging. Yet." "You scared?" "Of what?" "The truth." The deputy stepped closer. "Your wife's gone. Your girl's astray. And this place doesn't need revisiting. She was never yours to erase." He pointed at the burned ground. "Some things stay buried for good reason." The girl held out the badge sketch. The deputy didn't take it. "She kept this," she said. "Folded it while she bled." "You got proof." "More than you." Cook stood now between them. "Why are you here, deputy?" The sheriff said to check the fences. "They ain't burning." "Yet." "You think you can scare her quietly?" The deputy's eyes flicked back to the flame. "She doesn't belong here." "She does now." "You sure?" The girl didn't blink. "Have you ever heard her scream?" she asked. The deputy didn't answer. "She did, in the pantry." "She was loud," he muttered. "And you were quiet." Cook stepped closer. "You helped him?" The deputy spit in the dirt. "She asked too many questions." "She cooked." "She asked." "You killed her." "No." "You watched." "Yes." Silence. Wind caught the last of the smoke and tossed it. The cook stared at him. "You told me it was dogs." The deputy shrugged. He said it sounded better. "Then what?" "Then what do we let happen?" The girl stepped forward. She bled on the spoon. The deputy looked at her like she was firing herself. She stirred with the wrong hand. Wrong for who? Wrong for him. Cook looked down. His fists were trembling. "She was my wife." "She was property," the deputy said. The girl moved fast, reached down, scooped ash, and threw it at his chest. He didn't flinch. "You think you buried her with fire?" she hissed. The deputy wiped his coat slowly. "We buried her in silence." She held up the quilt corner. She kept stitching after. "You lie." "No." "She stitched names." He turned. "It doesn't matter now." "She stitched yours." The deputy froze. The wind dropped to nothing. "She wrote it crooked, near the edge." "Where is it?" "You'll never see it." He took one step toward her. Cook moved between them. "Try it," he said. The deputy stopped. "You're going to end up just like her," he said to the girl. "No," she whispered. "You are." He stepped back, eyes cold. "You burn this land all you want," she said. "It remembers." He said nothing, turned. I walked, boots dragging in ash. She watched every step. He disappeared past the tree line. Smoke is still rising from the black earth. Cook stood still. "You believe her now?" "I never stopped." "You buried that too." "I want to dig." She nodded. "We start tomorrow." Wind kicked again. They looked at the trail the deputy left behind. His boot prints curved through the ash, formed something crooked, a single letter, J. They walked the fence line before sunup. The girl had the knife again, same one he'd pulled from her hand days back. The blade wasn't sharp, just determined. He followed behind, one hand in his coat, the other brushing against weathered rails. The land was cold, still damp from smoke and mourning. She stopped at the first post, just past the cattle trough. "Here," she said. He leaned in, squinted. 2 letters, faint, shallow. "E.M.," she whispered. "Elmira. Mama said she could sing." He ran his fingers across the cuts. The bark was worn smooth from time. "She worked the kitchen." She stirred, cleaned after, vanished before the frost hit. He took a step back. "I looked at the wood. How'd I miss this?" "You weren't looking." They moved to the next one, near the gate that opened into the empty field. She pointed. "MS," she said. He nodded. "Mary Bates, the girl with the limp." "Do you remember her?" "She spilled flour once. Cried when she got slapped for it. Who slapped her? He didn't answer. She turned toward the next post. It leaned a little, gray in the center, stripped of bark on one side. This one was carved twice, she said. He stepped closer, looked where she pointed. 2 names, one faint, one cut deeper over the top. SF, he whispered. She was loud, the girl said. Mama said she got sent home, but no one saw her leave. He exhaled through his nose. Sarah, you knew her too. She gave me a scarf, said winter scared her more than work. He stared at the overlapping names. The one beneath is almost gone. She said names die if no one repeats them, the girl murmured. He closed his eyes. That makes 4, she added. 4 that we know. How many posts on this line? Too many. She pressed the knife's edge into the 5th post, just the flat, not to cut. This one's clean, she said. Maybe that's all it was. Maybe it's waiting. He didn't speak. The wind pressed against them like a question. Did you see them go? She asked. No, not once. I saw them show up. I saw them serve. I saw them quiet down. And then they were gone. And you said nothing. He turned to face her. What was I supposed to say? That you saw them. He stepped back. I see them now. She looked down at the knife, flipped it in her palm. You remember Julia's voice? She asked. Yes. Remember how she hummed? Yes. Did the others hum? He nodded. All of them. Why? It made the work lighter. Or the fear is quieter. He swallowed hard. You think they knew what was coming? I think they hoped it wouldn't. They walked a few more yards, reached a post with a split at the top. She knelt, scraped dirt off the base with her fingers. Another one, she said, barely visible. TL. He crouched beside her. Tammy Lynn, he said. She was just a kid. She's still here. No one told me she was gone. She wasn't counted. He touched the letters. His hand trembled. I cooked for her, he said. You buried her in your silence. They stood again. Why'd you stop whistling? She asked. Same reason you started carving. She nodded. Some things need to be heard. They kept walking. Wind moved across the field like breath. They stopped near the far corner of the property. Fence dipped here. The post was newer. No markings. The girl ran her hand over it. Nothing, she said. Yet. She gripped the knife. This one's mine, she said. He stared. I'm not leaving until they're all counted. The tailor's bell didn't ring anymore. It just clanked. A rusted pull on a string that swayed with the door. The cook stepped in first. The girl behind him. Dust coated the counter. Thread spools sat faded like old fruit. A light buzzed above them. Are you sure this is the place? He asked. She said red thread. Came from here. No one's been in this shop in years. She said the door stayed unlocked. He looked around. Shelves, ledgers, a sewing machine with a broken wheel. The girl moved toward the back, found the old drawer. I pulled it slowly. Inside, a book wrapped in cloth. She lifted it out, set it on the counter. The cook watched her undo the twine. Ledger, she said. He nodded. She opened the first page. Town stitchery, uniform record repairs. He leaned in. Ink bled into yellowed paper. Dates, names, items mended. The sheriff's name showed up over and over. Look at the thread column, she said. Red. Every time. They flipped forward. Coat sleeve, she whispered. Same entry again. Same date. Different year. 5 times, she said. Cook counted. March 2nd. Every year. Could be coincidence. Not in that house. He ran his finger across the column. Why just the sleeve? She said he wiped his mouth on it. He blinked. After. Silence stretched between them. Could have been anything, he muttered. She said it bled. He looked at her. Same day your wife screamed. His jaw tightened. You're sure? She pointed again. March 2nd. She bled that day too. Her voice cracked when she said it. He pulled the book closer, turned to the next year. Same name, same sleeve. I remember the sheriff always wore that coat in spring, he said. Said it was his badge coat. The girl looked at her hands. She said the tailor knew. He scanned the rest of the page. Initials in the margins. R.H. Richard Hamley, he whispered. Used to run the shop. Dead? Died last fall. She stared down at the ink. The book didn't. He turned another page. Notes scribbled at the bottom. Bleach wouldn't lift it. Another. Sleeves soaked again. No charge. She said he always paid cash. The girl said. He nodded. She said he walked in quietly and left quieter. He stared at the phrase, no charge. He owned everyone, he muttered. The girl tapped the margin, small sketch, a tiny threaded loop drawn where initials should be. What's that? She said that was the symbol for silence. He traced it. Stitch for silence, he whispered. They closed the book. She pressed her palm on the cover. I remember the smell. He looked at her. Of what? Firewood and lye. She walked ahead without speaking. Back toward the well house. Same path, same silence. The cook followed, slower this time. His boots dragged, his hands shook. She stopped at the door, pushed it open, stepped in like she'd never left. The lantern was already lit. He hesitated before stepping inside. You said she stitched names, he said. She did. And she said the quilt would show me. It did. She held something in her palm. The old kitchen spoon. What are you doing? He asked. She said it started here. He watched her walk to the edge of the well. She stirred with this, she said, until her wrist bled. She dropped it. It hit a stone, clinked once, then fell, then echoed, long, deep. Office. That doesn't sound right, he whispered. No, it doesn't. She stepped back. That's not just a well. She looked at him. You want to see? He didn't answer. She reached for the stones around the rim, pressed at the side. One shifted. Help me! He dropped to his knees, dug his fingers in, pulled. A slab came loose, then another. Dust lifted. Beneath the stones, boards, nailed crooked, covered in soot. They pried them back. A hole, not wide, but deep, dark and dry. She lowered the lantern. Light touched the first layer. Ash, then something white, then more. Bones. She didn't flinch. He stopped breathing. Buttons, thread, a snapped comb, a shoe. He reached down, hands trembling. She said this was where he put the ones who didn't leave, she said. He pulled back a cloth scrap, pink, burned at the edge. The wind outside moaned. She said they cried in this room, the girl whispered, but not all at once. He swallowed hard. How long has this been under us? Long enough. He reached deeper. Fingers brushed metal. He pulled it free. A locket. He stared. I opened it. On the left, Julia, faint, smiling. On the right, a child, small, brown eyes. He didn't speak. She knelt beside him. She stitched a face she never named. He held the locket close. This was hers. She wore it the night she screamed. He stared into the hole again. Why didn't I hear more? Because no one screamed twice. He placed the locket in his coat pocket. She said her voice stayed in the stone. He nodded. I hear it now. They sat together. The bones didn't move, but they didn't have to. The room already knew. The cook didn't say a word when he stepped off the porch. He just walked, straight down the main road, past the church, past the feed store, past the place where they used to hang flags. His coat flapped once in the wind, locket heavy in his pocket, left hand clenched, right hand loose. The girl walked behind him, shawl pulled tight, dust on her face. No footsteps but his. People watched from windows. No one called out. No one stepped forward. They reached the sheriff's gate. He didn't stop, pushed it open, didn't knock. The house was quiet. The hallway was clean, oil lamps burning low, wallpaper still yellowed at the edges, boots on wood. The sheriff stepped out of his study, saw them, didn't smile. Well, he said. The cook didn't answer. Sheriff looked at the girl. You bringing her in like a stray? She's not yours, the cook said. Sheriff folded his arms. Then what is she? The cook stepped inside. She's the truth. Big word. No bigger than the well. Sheriff's face changed. What well? You know which one. The girl stayed in the doorway. The cook walked to the kitchen table, pulled out the chair. Saturday. You should sit too. Sheriff didn't move. You burned their names, the cook said. Names fade. You buried their hands. Don't start this. You made them stir stew while they bled. You don't know what you're saying. I saw her comb. Sheriff's jaw tightened. I saw the cloth, the buttons, the thread. You're digging ghosts. They're not ghosts if they're bones. Sheriff stepped forward. You want to accuse me? I don't need to. You brought a girl in here. She don't belong. She belongs more than you ever did. Sheriff glanced at the girl. You want to speak? Or you just let him talk for you. She stayed silent. You don't scare me. You should be scared of what's beneath your boots, she said. The cook reached into his pocket, pulled out the locket, set it on the table. It didn't make a sound. Sheriff stared at it. Didn't move. You know what that is, the cook said. I've seen 1,000 lockets. This one was stitched. Sheriff looked at the girl again. She stepped in now, closed the door behind her. Open it, she said. Sheriff didn't, so the cook did. He turned it to face the man. Left side, Julia. Right side, a child. I didn't know about the baby, the cook said. She didn't get to tell you, the girl said. Sheriff swallowed. That ain't proof. She kept it on her when she screamed. You didn't hear her scream, he snapped. I did, the cook said. Sheriff flinched. I was hauling water. I heard her scream once. And you told me not to go in. You followed orders. I followed lies. Sheriff stepped closer. You think this changes anything? It changes everything, the girl said. I buried her. You buried her fast, the cook said. And you didn't let me see. Sheriff leaned on the wall now. He looked smaller. She was going to speak. She already had. No, she was going to speak out. The girl's voice cracked. She said no. That's all it took. Sheriff turned to her. You think I'm the only one, he said. I don't care about the rest. You should. I care about what you did with your hands. Cook stood now. You cleaned your coat every March 2nd. Sheriff froze. Red thread, the cook said. Same sleeve. Same year. The girl stepped forward. You remember her voice? He didn't answer. She remembered your breath. He looked at the locket again. You can't prove it was me. You wore the badge. Sheriff's voice broke. You want me to say it? No, the cook said. We want you to hear it. Then came a voice from the corner. Software. I stitched that locket in myself. They turned. The sheriff's wife stood from her chair in the shadows, face pale, hands shaking. I stitched it while she cried. The sheriff's face went blank. You knew, he said. She stepped closer. She asked me for help. You said nothing. You told me not to. I was protecting yourself, she said. The cook watched them both. She brought you the locket. She left it on my sewing table, she whispered. The girl spoke next. You stitched the loop with red thread. Yes. I found that thread in the well. Sheriff's mouth opened, then shut. His wife kept speaking. She came to me the night before. She should have stayed out. She was scared. She was loud. She was right, she snapped. The room held still. You buried her under your coat, she said. He turned to the door. You try to run. You don't make it far, the cook said. Sheriff looked like he might fall. I did what I had to. No, the girl said. You did what you could get away with. He sat now, hard, hands flat on the table. Every spring, the girl said. You needed red thread. Sheriff rubbed his eyes. You think people didn't know. They looked away. So did you, he said to the cook. I know. That makes you no better. I didn't stitch the silence. The girl stepped forward, opened her palm. Inside, ashes. What is that? The sheriff asked. From the well. He flinched. Tammy Lynn's thread, Elmira's button, Mary Beth's hair ribbon. They were accidents. They were girls. His wife sat across from him. You said she fell, she whispered. But you came home with blood on your cuff. Sheriff looked down at his hands. I didn't mean to. That's not the same as stopping, the girl said. Cook leaned forward. I remember Julia's last song. Sheriff looked up. I remember it because it was the only time she sang loud. You think this makes you a hero? No, he said. It makes me late. Silence wrapped the room. The girl moved toward the door. You comin'? She asked. The cook looked at the locket again, then stood. Where are you going? The sheriff asked. Back to the post. For what? To carve. You think that fixes it? No, the girl said. But it's more than you ever did. Sheriff didn't follow. His wife didn't speak again. When they stepped back into the sun, the town was quiet. Wind moved slow through the square. The cook pulled the knife from his coat, held it out. Your hands are steadier, he said. She took it. At the fence, they found the last clean post. The girl pressed the blade to the wood, carved slow, letter by letter, J.D., then below it, M.W., then T.L., E.M., S.F., M.S., and last, JH. The cook stood behind her. You know who that is? He asked. She nodded. Her name was Joy. The sun touched the top of the post. No wind now. No sound. Just wood. Letters, names, and silence. That would never go quiet again. They started before dawn. No tools but the shovel. No sound but the wind. The girl stood at the first cleared patch by the fence. The cook dug. The ground gave easy, damp from rain, soft where the roots had pulled away. She held the bag open. Bones inside, small, clean, wrapped in old cloth they found in the well. You know who this one is? He asked. She nodded. Elmira. He laid her down slow, covered her with both hands, packed the dirt like it meant something. She sang. She tried to. He moved to the next spot. You ready? Mary Beth, she said. The cloth here was thinner, one shoe tucked inside. He dug slower this time. She limped. She still stood. He lowered the bundle, covered it. She helped stir on Sundays, he said, even when her ankle swelled. The girl didn't respond. Third bundle, Sarah. Fourth, Tammy Lynn. Too young, he whispered. She wanted to be seen. They worked in silence. Dust filled their mouths. Sweat mixed with ash on their skin. The cook's back ached. His hands blistered, but he didn't stop. Next, he said. She passed him the fifth. SF. She carved her name twice, the girl said. He nodded. I remember her eyes. Most didn't. He placed her gently, covered her carefully. By noon, 6 graves lined the fence, 1 post for each, all marked, all carved. He stepped back, wiped his brow. You ready? He asked. She looked at the last bundle. Smallest of all, the fabric was different, blue cotton, torn at the edge, no name stitched. He didn't speak. She held it like it breathed, then handed it to him. Joy, she said. He took it in both arms, stepped to the last post, set the bundle down like he was laying bread on the altar. She was yours too, the girl said. He stared at the dirt. Who was her mama? You know. He pressed his fingers into the earth. Julia didn't get to tell me. She wanted to. He lowered the bundle, covered it. 6 mounds in a row, 1 more at the end. The cook stood, shoulders heavy. The girl pulled the knife from her belt, held it out. He took it, carved her name into the post. Joy. Not rushed, not hidden. Then he handed the knife back. She didn't take it. My mama forgives you, she said. He looked up, but not them. The wind picked up. Long, slow, cold. They didn't speak again, just stood. Fence behind them, graves before them. The field silent but full. The girl stayed by the last post, while the cook walked back to the house. He came out again minutes later with the ledger under one arm, a kettle in the other. Tea? He asked. She nodded once. They sat cross-legged by the fence, in front of the graves. No table, no cups, just the kettle between them, steam rising like breath. He poured into the lid of the kettle, handed it to her. She sipped, winced. Hot. You always drink it fast. I don't like waiting. He nodded, took his turn, didn't mind the burn. She stared at the mound nearest her. Do you think they know? They do now. No headstones. No. But they got names now. They do. She looked over at him. You gonna tell the town? They already know. They need to hear it out loud. He nodded slowly. I'll go up to the hall. Sheriff won't be there. He won't need to be. She ran her hand across the fresh dirt. You gonna say it all? I'll say their names. That enough? No, he said. But it's the start. She leaned back. The knife still sat in the grass between them. I thought I'd feel better, she said. You don't. Not yet. You might never. She let the words sit a while. Then, what happens to the ones still quiet? You mean the girls we don't know? She nodded. He picked up the ledger, set it on his knees. Maybe they're still waiting. You think I'll hear 'em? You already do. She looked out at the field, flat, open, full of sound if you sat long enough. I hear my mama, she whispered. He waited. She said the wind carries what the tongue won't. She was right. She said even the knife remembers. He picked it up, held it in both hands. Then it belongs with you, he said. She shook her head. I brought it, but I don't want to carry it no more. He didn't argue. She stood up, walked to the first post, ran her hand over the letters. E.M. She moved to the next. S. Each one she touched like a memory. At the last one, she stopped, looked down. Joy. She didn't say anything else. He watched her step back, pull her shawl tight. You leaving? She nodded. Where to? Where the dirt still listens. He looked down at the knife. You gonna come back? If the names fade again. He stood. You need food? No. Money? No. He didn't push. They walked together to the road. At the edge, she turned. You were late, she said. I know. But you showed up. I stayed. She paused. That's worth something. He watched her walk, small steps at first, then stronger. Dust picked up behind her like she never needed a path. When she was gone, he walked back to the posts. 7 now. He sat beside Joy's, pressed the knife into the dirt, blade down like it belonged. There, morning turned to noon. The wind rose. It moved through the field, through the wood, through the dirt, fence posts like silent gravestones, and on each, a name finally carved right.